You already figured out your relationship with the addiction and you're taking actions toward breaking it. And I made it very clear how to do so in the past 2 videos. If you haven't watched them, go watch them now and then get back here, because this video is the shield that protects you from relapse. Because the ugly days will come. This video's purpose is to get you from relapse as a verdict to relapse as data. And that's the whole difference that makes you win the ugly days. And I will also share the exact simple methods that I did use to stop the spiraling and actually move forward. Let's get right into it. First, let's dissect the relapse. The relapse is when you basically fail at quitting an addiction, but it's still vague. It's still a verdict, right? First, let's look at it at levels. First is the slip. You made a mistake, right? You fell. Something happened. You smoked a cigarette. You watched porn. Whatever. This is one event that took place, and it's an event. That's all that is. Now the next level is spiral. A spiral is when you get this event and it turns from one slip to 5 slips over multiple days, within 1 week, for example. And then we have the full relapse, the third level, the full collapse, when you completely forget about tracking and you just give in. That's an actual relapse. So with this definition, each event and each sequence of events has a different meaning. You can stop the spiral, you can register an event, but you cannot fight a full collapse. This differentiation matters, and the sooner you get it, the better off you will be when the ugly days come, because they will. The point here is not to never slip. You may slip, but it's to prevent the full collapse. Here is something that you should be very aware of, especially if you are early in your, let's say, addiction quitting phase. If you never try, you never fail. And also, you guarantee you never win. Especially when it comes to quitting a hard addiction that has been present in your life for a really long time. Let's say you've been a smoker for 10 years. Now you're taking a chance. Now you are taking a risk. And the failure rate in this context is at its highest because you don't have the muscle yet to fight the urge to smoke. And the fear of failure is what keeps you a smoker for a really long time. What if people laugh at me for quitting and then returning to smoking? What if I actually let myself down and feel bad about it? All these are safe options. When you're trying to quit, you are getting a risky option. But avoiding risk guarantees the same addiction. And that matters a lot for first-time quitters, because when you are trying to achieve a perfect shot from the first try, you are really trying to be perfectionist. You are setting the standards so high, even experts can match you with that. I sometimes have non-smoker friends smoke cigarettes occasionally once a year. I myself, sometimes I crave cigarettes. I don't smoke, and I'm planning to keep it that way. And I fortified my mind to the point where I cannot relapse and just get back to smoking. That will never happen, at least in the state I am in right now. But even if it happens, I still have a track to stay on. It didn't happen in smoking, for example, but it happened in quitting porn. It happened in quitting binge eating. It happened in consuming sugary stuff. It happened in relying on external validation from girls. So without the risk, there is no win. So taking the first step is the hardest part. And to make sure you're getting the highest win rate possible, I recommend that you check the execution pattern video, in which I explain how you exactly find how you do things and do them very good, and replicate this method to everything else, including quitting addictions. Here's the difference between perfectionism and determination. Here's what perfectionism looks like, which is what most people default to when they're trying to quit addictions and fail. I slipped, therefore I'm done. I'm a failure. I am worthless. I am not good enough to do what I'm trying to do. Determination, I slipped. Let's see, how did it happen? What happened before it? Did I feel something? Did something happen? Was there an interruption of some kind? What was the sequence? That's the key word here. It's the same event, but it has a different meaning now. When you are perfectionist in quitting addiction, you will confuse. Remember the words that we separated? The slip, the spiral, and the collapse? That's why it matters. The slip is not the collapse. When you are a perfectionist, you mix all the three together and put them in one category, and you call yourself a failure. That's what I did for a really long time. And that's how I learned to unlearn it. And I stayed determined instead of searching for a perfect result that may never come. But when I started to understand how I am failing, I know how the data to move a step forward. And when failure is a lesson, it is a power, it is a knowledge that you can use later on. But when it is a verdict, it's a loop, it's a shame loop, it's guilt loop. You feel guilty about yourself and you feel shameful that you failed. And when that happens, that's where the shame becomes the relapse fuel. You keep relapsing because shame makes you want to hide. You want to hide what you failed at. I failed at smoking. No, I didn't fail at smoking. I'm just a smoker. It's something like, well, I didn't fail at quit smoking. It just felt way too boring. It's not worth it. And so what you put in your head is that failure, I don't want to fail. I don't want to feel it again. So failure here is a feeling that you would like to avoid. And that's how it becomes a reason to keep failing. And this happened to me because I quit smoking before, like for 1 month, back in 2017, for 1 month. Then I slipped a couple of times, and then it became a spiral, and then a full collapse. The full collapse occurred when I wasn't sure of why I'm quitting smoking in the first place. And that's where I needed the shadow work. Go watch the first video about the shadow work and how you can understand your relationship with the bad habit you're trying to quit. When you understand it, you've already decoded half of the problem. The rest is just taking action. When you do enough shadow work in this area, you remove the verdict mindset. You start calling yourself a failure and worthless and not good enough. So how do we prevent relapses? Well, the only way that I found that works 100% is self-respect. It is the real prevention. Self-respect is what you do when your brain is negotiating back and forth with you. The feelings, instead of the clear vision that you want for yourself. And so simply, we start with boundaries. That's the first element of self-respect, right? Boundaries. You say no to what you don't want in your life. It's as simple as that. A friend comes to you, would you like to have a cigarette? You say, no thanks, I quit smoking. He insists and says, well, yes, just once, you already made it, you did well. That happened to me, by the way, like directly, a friend of mine. That's how I relapsed. What I should have said back then was, no thanks, and don't insist, please. And now if they insist in the third time, I make it clear. You either cut it out or I leave. That's boundary. And that's how boundaries create integrity. And integrity gives you the inner stabilization. And when you're stable enough, every no you make, every bad choice you avoid becomes dignity points earned. And so it turns from something you're trying to avoid with willpower to something that you are. This is stacked identity. And it is so strong, you don't even need to force it. It just works. And in everything, by the way, not just quitting bad loops. But at the same time, even when you do everything right, your execution pattern may have a different approach depending on how you do things usually. Go watch the second video if you haven't watched yet. That's where I explain how you figure out how you do things properly. But generally speaking, your body will not follow through fog if you have vague information, if you have vague structure. The body will find trouble following through because there is no reward. The body conserves energy naturally, and therefore when an action is required, let's say quitting alcohol, and ordering a Diet Coke instead, there comes the question, why? My inner state is stable. I shouldn't disrupt it. And so we need to show the body the real stability where it is, because the bargaining drops where the progress is shown and clear. So tracking inputs here is what makes the brain believes, the body believes that what you are doing is real. And that's how I actually quit smoking for a full month. I will share a screenshot right now. It will appear on the screen. I just did a dead simple thing to keep track of the days that I stayed smoke-free. I didn't use tracker, I didn't use anything, just on board. And I just, with the chalk, I just write on it. And every 6th, just the 7th, and so on, until I completed 30 days. And that's how my body saw that the momentum is clear. I am making progress. This is real. In the first attempt back in 2017, I didn't do that. So when I quit and I stayed smoke-free for 30 days, I didn't see the benefit. All I saw was I was isolated from my friends. And my history with smoking, I remember vividly. I was neglected, I was lonely, and my smoker friends accepted me. And so that's why smoking was kind of my social crutch. Of course, how do I know that? Well, I did a lot of introspection and shadow work. But when I did this, even when my emotions lied, I was dead sure that I am on the right track. And I did the same thing for quitting binge eating and overeating, so I can lose weight. But in food, it doesn't work this way, unfortunately, because it's kind of dynamic. And so what I did, instead of writing one perfect line that says a perfect day, I just register how bad the slip is. Remember the slip, the spiral, the collapse? So if I ate something like way too sugary, it's a slip. If I ate 2 or 3 things and I had a bigger meal, that's a spiral. And that will happen. I just register what happened exactly. Instead of having a clean line, I would just have a rectangle to say that this day has a slip in it. Or if I have it like a rectangle and filled within, then it means that that day was a collapse. And so what I notice here is that I have now a trend. How many days are perfect? How many days are have a slip? And how many days have a collapse? And so now I see a trend. Now I see maybe I have once or twice a week. Maybe I have 3 a week. So I need to be careful more. I need to tighten, and I get back to the event. And so success is a trend line. It's not a straight line. It's a trend. It falls, it rises, it falls, it rises. Exactly like losing weight, exactly like progressing in the gym, exactly like making money, exactly like a relationship. Everything in life works the same exact way. It's a trend line. And that's how you get to notice the stable behavior and the unstable behavior. And you find your way through the execution pattern to stabilize it more. And that's how you kill getting back to zero. When you don't have, what people usually do, what I used to do well, is we would just freestyle quit smoking, or freestyle, let's do this and do that, and don't do this and don't do that. And what we end up with is we just shaking the equilibrium inside, and some energy, some motivational energy, and then we kind of calm down and just get back to what we were. That's what happened to me. And in order for you to make sure it doesn't happen to you as well, you need something to do in real time. That's how I fought every craving when I was smoking. You can have notes, you can have a journal book, small mini book or notebook, or you can do it with ChatGPT. Write the exact feeling that you are getting, how many days or what day you are in, what are you doing, where are you seated, how is the atmosphere around you. And here what I want to do is to be as open-minded as possible and to connect with your inner state. Feel, how do you feel if you're not smoking? What memories that come through? What do you fear that will happen? Who comes first to your mind when you're talking about smoking? These cigarettes, how do you feel about it? If it's talking, how does it have is it saying anything? Is your brain telling you anything specific? Are you connecting to a specific memory? specific event? What is my current actual need? Is it connection with people? Is it food? Is it losing something bad? Is it gaining something that I cannot reach right now? Are you impatient about something? Are you afraid of losing something? And the most important, you can ask this specifically. I figure that it is very helpful. Why am I refusing to let go of this bad habit? This one, I recommend that you actually prompt it. Describe the bad habit, how it happened, when it happened, where it happened, and ask ChatGPT to mirror it back to you. Why am I refusing to let go? And even if you fail, before failing or during the craving of the bad habit or after the aftermath, no problem. You register the data, you mark the day without drama and without self-hate. I failed. That's okay. This is a slip, okay? This is a spiral. If you completely wipe the board or you don't try anything, that's a full collapse. And you need to do shadow work first to understand your relationship, then do the execution pattern to understand how to effectively do something. And then you come back here to understand how you prevent the relapse. You, again, will keep the track and you will register as it is. No drama, no self-hate, no verdicts. Okay? That's the dangerous thing here. Verdicts. Let's take a baby, okay? And they are walking the first time and they fail. Would you tell this baby, you are a failure, don't get back up, this is not for you, you're not good enough to walk? No, of course not. So why don't you give yourself the chance to learn from something that you haven't done quite enough in your life? Maybe it's your first time quitting, maybe it's your fifth time, maybe you relapsed after something really bad happened. You need to learn it again. You need to have the open-mindedness, the acceptance that you might fail. So after you register, you write one paragraph, the sequence. So this happened before. That's what happened now. And my next move in the next time is, I was alone. For example, I was alone and I wasn't doing anything. And I felt some loneliness because I asked a friend to go out and they said no. And so I stayed home and I masturbated to porn because I felt like it covers my loneliness. I cut time with it. And so the next time I make sure that first I plan ahead. So my friend is not busy and I have another friend, for example, planned ahead. Or maybe I have an event that I want to attend. Maybe go out to a walk, maybe do some task, maybe do something related to work, related to life, anything. And the golden rule here is dead simple. One slip is not an identity. It's not a verdict. It doesn't get a sequel. We tend to minimize the trend, not to completely eliminate it or completely let it consume us. That's the whole point. It's a trend. This is the end of this mini course. I hope you learned something useful. My intent in this mini course was to get the instinctive actions that I took and convert it to a system that you can replicate over and over again. And I hope you learned something that helps you move one step ahead, because this one step is the proof that you are better than you were yesterday. And that's all that matters. Input and determination over perfectionism. That's the theme of this video. And that's the theme of my life, basically. I went from someone who was perfectionist. I had all these verdicts about myself. I am a smoker. I am not good enough. I am fat. And I overeat. I do bad things. Look, if you told me 1 year ago that I would be here today from 120 kilograms to 100 kilograms and losing more right now. And I will make an update next month. It will be significant. By quitting sugary beverages, sugar binge eating, I will go to a market and grab one thing from the shelf. As for porn, I used to watch porn daily, almost daily, to the point once I did it at work. Gaming loops all the time as well. Smoking 30 cigarettes a day, all that in the past. And today you see the mid-transition. And in the future that I am building towards is where you will see the king version of me, the Henry that achieved all the results that I desire to achieve by registering input and make it imperfect on purpose. So it accumulates and it compounds instead of looking for the one perfect solution for my problems. I hope you learned something useful today. Stay safe and take care. Goodbye for now.